Now I'm glad to introduce Dr. Soma De Silva. She is a former UNICEF South Asia Regional Advisor on Monitoring and Evaluation, a South Asia region-wide initiative on teaching evaluation, which is she introduced and led that establishment of postgraduate diploma course on monitoring and evaluation at Sri Jayawardhanapura University in Sri Lanka. Having initiated the establishment of Sri Lankan Evaluation Association, and she served twice of its president there. She has also served the president of International Organization for Collaboration in Evaluation. Currently, she teaches evaluation at the Jayawardhanapura University in Sri Lanka for that evaluation. And currently, her efforts to professionalize evaluation in these things. As a part of this effort, she has authored the workbook Theory of Change for Development Success, published by Slaver. So yeah, I am glad to welcome Dr. Soma into the dais. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes. So without wasting time, now I would like to invite Dr. Soma for her presentation for this session.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so what we are going to discuss today is about making informed decisions in SRH interventions through EFGRE. Anyone wants to say what is EFGRE? You want to guess? It is equity focused, then gender responsive evaluations. Okay, so these evaluations are very powerful things. Do you know anything more powerful than evaluation? Can you name one? I have a small gift for you. Okay, no, there is nothing. Evaluation is actually knowledge, and knowledge is power. Evaluative power is very, very strong knowledge. So why are we talking about equity-focused, gender-responsive evaluations? Because they can make the SRH interventions work, and they can make SRH interventions achieve results. Now, this word results is critically important. So let's have a small question. Can you think of a result you achieved in a program that you do? I'm sure you have a lot of experience doing programs. Do you like to share one result that you achieved or you contributed to achieve? There are no right or wrong answers. Just let's get going. Any change, that's a hint. A result is a change. Yes. So, yeah.
That you have done comprehensive sexuality education. That's been launched. Ministry of Education Skills Development has launched the comprehensive sexuality education, and that was, I think, following all the evaluations that was done, because a lot of teenage pregnancies and adolescent sexual reproductive health issues that we have. And then the second one is from Bhutan, and the LGBTQ needs assessment that we did. Now we have programs coming up, so that's the result.
Thank you so much for sharing what you did. Yes. But let's take a deeper look at what is meant by a result. And I would like you to keep thinking about it. Results are changes in the first place. Changes in people's lives. This is the fundamental basis for anything we do, any program. If we don't understand this, we can't do any development intervention, right? So changes in people's lives, but that's a rather meaningless statement. We can say changes in people's level of well-being. That's also fairly complicated. But we can say in the level of rights they enjoy. People have a right to sexual and reproductive health services. So if that access level is enhanced by a program, then that program has achieved a change, achieved a result for people. So that is the basis for everything we do, to achieve results for people. We don't need a government. That government cannot achieve results for people. That government cannot raise the level of realization of the rights of people. So having understood that to some extent, the question is, can these so-called equity-focused and gender-responsive evaluations inform decision-making in sexual and reproductive health interventions. Shall we stop for a moment? What is an intervention? Just say something. What do you think is an intervention? Anybody, please? Yes, please. Very good. Thank you.
It might be the introduction of Cyanopress into facilities, so self-injection.
Yeah. Good. That is an example of an intervention. So an intervention can be anything from, let's say, an activity like that to a project, or a complex combination of projects which we call a program. It can be a policy, it can be a law, it can be anything that's going to affect the lives of, right. So we need to remember these things because this is what we are going to talk about. If there is going to be a policy, that policy must bring about positive changes for people. There's going to be a law, it's the same thing. Similarly, projects, programs, etc. So we are starting with the question, can evaluations make SRH interventions better? Meaning, achieve results for people better. What's your answer? Yes, no, yes, wow. So already we are converted, right? I'm not going to ask you how right now. Okay, so this is something that I feel rather happy about, kind of a little bit of new thinking into this field, right? There is international agreement right across the world, agreed by the governments, the scientists, the programmers, the development partners, etc. And it's through OECD DAC, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And what they say is that any intervention to be successful must have 6 criteria. Is that okay? Must have 6 criteria. Even for you to live your family life. Is that a project or a program or a policy? It's all really. Yeah. Even for that you need these things, right? So, but to explain these and understand them, it takes a minimum of 5 days for intelligent, right? Out of those 2 criteria, we have 1. We have intelligent people, but we don't have 5 days. Therefore, we have to run through this quickly. Interventions have to be relevant, meaning people must want them, need them. That intervention must fill a gap that exists, right? And let's say an SRH intervention, let's say education about sexual and reproductive health. If you educate, let's say, okay, you distribute sanitary pads to men in a project. Is that relevant? But we do similar things, we do similar things. Okay, so relevance, similarly effective. Meaning what we do must contribute to bringing results. Efficient must happen at reasonable costs, basically. There's no point in achieving something little at a very high cost. Should be optimal cost. And sustainable, coherent. This is recently added, meaning people try to do the same thing, particularly in times of disaster, etc., or even in normal times. For example, a very simple, common example is so-called awareness raising programs. So 10 agencies do the same awareness raising, and it's a duplicate, it's a waste of resources as well. And then finally that impact, the change in the level of realization of rights, change in the level of knowledge, change in let's say reproductive behavior, in accessing services, whatever it is, those 6 characteristics must be there for a program. So what I am saying here is that when you are designing an SRH intervention, or if you are even working for an SRH intervention, take time to see whether these criteria are met. Otherwise, however hard you may work, it's not going to work. That's the current state of knowledge in the world. Do you agree? Has a program got to be relevant? Has it got to be effective? A commonest example where interventions are not effective is the so-called training, right? So, okay. So, gender responsive. These are laden words. Gender responsive and equity focused. Why not gender focused? Why don't we say gender focused? and equity response. Shall we change it? Okay. Think about the work you do, your workplace. Can you think of something that is done in a gender responsive manner? Surely one example.
We have women, we have persons with disability, we have LGBTQ. So we have genders like different who needs a different needs. So we become very responsive to the need of that particular person that we are, a person-centered kind of a thing. And equity is, of course, the need particular person at that particular time.
Yes, that's a good example. So what you meant was something like this. If you just take men and women for right now, we know that gender is more than that. But a program has to be designed in such a way that we understand that men and women have different needs. For example, the way they might want to be trained can be different for women than for men. A very simple example, the times could be different. Women, mothers may want to have the training, let's say in the evenings, and men may want it during lunchtime or something. So understanding those needs and responding to them, meaning and providing the intervention in a way that meets these needs. However, this is much more than that. We need to understand that. But that word responding means responding to people's needs, that they are different in different groups. But equity, anyone can give an example for equity from your workplace, from your life. Do you try to promote equity? Have you tried to do that in personal life or outside at work? What is equity? Since you smile, can you?
Well, I can give you an example, not from my personal life. Basically, I feel maternity leave is an example for equity.
You're not rich, right? So, thank you for raising that. All this time, the fathers just escaped, isn't it? So, equity. I saw in a newspaper that the government is going to get a grant or loan or something, and they are going to raise the standards of medicine, engineering, and science faculties. And I felt so very angry and sad. What are they doing here? What are they doing? You don't feel angry. One thing. Yeah, very good. And the other is the so-called humanities, social sciences, arts, etc. are already so disadvantaged. I mean, they might as well not exist. Now, by raising the standards of these, fine, something is good. But what are they doing? They are increasing the gulf between the disadvantaged and the already advantaged. So that's why it's so important to think about these things. And in programming, if you're participating in a program, be brave, be courageous, have courage, look for these. A gender responsive program, the only difference here is when we say gender, we look at gender categories. Equity means we look at all affiliations, social affiliation groups. Time? 5 minutes, okay. So we look at needs, rights, preferences, power relations. These are things that we need to look at in designing programs. And equity focused also means more or less the same thing, right? But you understand the differences. Gender particularly refers to gender categories, but equity is also there, okay? Now you can see inequalities existing side by side. In these kinds of situations, there can be interventions which broaden the gap even more, which widen the gap even more. So now these gender responsive and equity focused evaluations, how do they make SRH interventions better? This is what they do. They identify disparities. They have lenses to look for disparities, identify them. But if you identify disparities, is that enough? Is that enough to take action? Evaluation tells you there is a difference between men and women. So what? You need to know the reason. Always the reasons must be known. Why question must be inquired into. So these evaluations identify the disparities and the reasons. If an evaluation report does not give you the reasons, what should you do? What will you do? If you have commissioned an evaluation, you get a report saying there are huge disparities between this and that and the other. That's it. And what would you do? Yes, you throw the report at his face. because that's not an evaluation. You need to understand why. And this is the reason why that evaluations are now moving more and more from quantitative, not moving away, but supplementing quantitative with qualitative to understand the lived experience. I mean, the experience of an abused woman cannot be found out through a survey, a quantitative survey. You could identify them. You may need a qualitative approach to be able to understand what she's going through, okay? And with that, you get gender responsive and equity promoting policies because you know there are differences and you know why. So you can bring policies, you can make the programs more targeted and inclusive, you can optimize the resources. We can speak for hours on at each one of them, but I'm sure it's pretty kind of transparent. And with all that, the impact can be made sustainable. And finally, you can advocate for better responsiveness and equity. I'll just do the next one slide and finish off. No, I don't need that. So these types of evaluations, EFGREs, look at gender disaggregated data, meaning if it's poverty among men, poverty among women. So you disaggregate it. Now, COVID data, nowhere in the world was available for men and women. Yeah. So, and you have to look at gender-specific data. Some data are specific for different gender categories, but most important, I have given some examples here, but the most difficult thing to measure is gender power relations and system, because that has to go beyond the usual traditional. This is one example of where SRH has been used to improve, EFGRs have been used to improve SRH services. This is a UNFPA program done in Jordan and Syria. It's a humanitarian program. SRH services were provided to women and girls separately. Then the evaluation found out that doing the services separately, there was a major barrier to SRH services, and that refugee women faced further problems. Now the question here is, the evaluators can say that, but if the program managers did not listen to it, nothing would have happened. Do you think program managers listen or don't listen? How many of you say yes, they listen? How many say they don't? You know, it's like you can prepare a nice meal and serve it very attractively. But if there's no one to eat, or there are people around, they don't decide to eat, they don't want to eat. It's like that. You can do the evaluation, but there has to be a mechanism for using the evaluation. Almost mandatory. Not only to use the information, but also to see that it's fully implemented. So they did that. What they did was they revised to integrate SRH and GBB, and the result is higher service uptake and better outcomes. So I'll stop there. Right. Thank you.
So first I would like to ask Dr. Soma that when you have presented that 6 criteria, I would like to know that how you will integrate that equity and the gender part into the 6 criteria of development intervention, that we can ensure that we are not going to leave anyone behind. Over to you.
Yeah, and thank you so much for mentioning that last phrase, leaving no one behind. So the whole idea of gender responsiveness, equity focus is to make sure that our interventions don't leave anyone behind. Sometimes it's not only leaving anyone behind, sometimes it's also leaving people in a worse situation than before. That can also happen. So these 6 criteria, I personally don't think, I haven't come across literature that considers these 6 criteria explicitly at the stage of the program design. And that is really very important. You can't do evaluations and make use of the findings if the program has not been designed properly. So even before the design stage, even at the time of conceiving the concept program, those 6 criteria of relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, coherence, impactfulness, and sustainability. So far, the literature that I have seen looks at these as if the whole population is homogeneous. And evaluations also have done that. It's rarely that you see evaluations that look at these in a gender response manner, in a manner that different groups of people identified with their social affiliations are also examined. So therefore, if you look at relevance, then you have to see, is it relevant for men, women, LGBTQ, etc. And you have to look at age groups. What is good for young age groups may not be good for old age group. You have to look at caste groups or whatever is relevant, whatever is key. So we don't have, and another important thing about relevance is that it should meet the felt needs of the people. However important something is to the donor or to the program manager, it may not be, if it's not important to the people that we are going to serve, then it's not going to be, that's the idea. The other thing about relevance is that the context, as someone you mentioned already, context is really important. A program must suit the context, but the context keeps changing. Say, for example, COVID came. So what was relevant before is no longer relevant. If tsunami comes, or if some other thing happens, or just social change, or the government change. So keep a program relevant, then the program managers must keep an eye on the context and make the necessary arrangement. Many times I have seen in major program reviews, when the funds have not been utilized, when the results have not been achieved, common responses are, okay, UNICEF didn't provide the books in time, or it was raining, so therefore the seeds could not be planted. Don't you feel very sad then? If it wasn't raining and the rain wasn't going to come, surely your responsibility is to change. No? Now, if the donor wasn't going to bring the books in time, what would you do as program managers? No, you might know that the donor has done this before also, right? So we need to do something about it. We need to have an output that books are received by this date, and if not, deal with it, kind of thing. So there is no time to go through those 6 criteria, but I took relevance as one example. But with your permission, I'd like to say one thing more, and that is, now it is not easy to do all these things. You need qualified, competent people. Not qualified, you need competent people. Competency is the key thing. In our countries, we do not have a core group of such professional evaluators so far. And I mean, Dr. Saylor is trying very, very hard to have evaluation academic courses in the university. So we need to have a group of people, a core group, a critical mass of qualified people, academically trained and practiced under supervision, who can then go to critical position and influence and make a change.